The market is quite excited right now. We are at the edge of the final result of what will be happening next. Will the market actually print the new lows, liquidating a small amount of us, very few of us who are still sitting in loans? Will we finally receive our inflows from Ethereum ETF and go to Valhalla with all of our Ethereum assets and ecosystems pushing right after that? And we would also talk about the only way to actually make money in Memecoins for 95% plus of crypto investors on the market. All the money I made in Memecoins, I only made this way. Each and every time I was trying to trade Memecoins, I was losing money and I lost a bunch of it. More than 200k, most likely, in the last couple of months, right? Let's actually dive in. What I would like to start with is the market situation. We just had a crazy candle on Bitcoin that pushed us to the highs of $58,100, pretty much the similar one that we had right here, all right? And right after that, we had a huge dump quite close to the previous lows. The main question that we might actually be asking ourselves, whether or not we will be seeing an additional low, whether or not the market makers will print additional low to finally liquidate us and then right after push this chart very high. And interesting thing is that if we would actually be seeing additional low on our 4-hour time frame, we would touch our 10x leverage loans one more time. So 10x leverage loans on BTC, they will get liquidated again. I am not expecting us to essentially go lower because this will just break the whole market structure. I would expect us, if this would be happening, to bounce from here. Overall, I'm staying with my prediction before. I don't think that we would be touching it, and I don't think that would be happening. And mainly is because I took some time to analyze the liquidation map that we have at that stage. We have to understand that the amount of liquidity that we have below the current levels is quite low. Speaking of leverage loan liquidity, you don't have a lot of hundreds of millions in terms of liquidations, in terms of the liquidity that market makers can actually take from the market. And we have a large portion of liquidity in shorts sitting right above our levels. This is just a crazy amount of liquidity. I do think that market makers, they just know that like this liquidity, they're taking it 100%. 100%. They're taking it from people who are shorting this thing at this stage. Even if they plan this large dump and we're going like very low, it's just a very small movement on the chart to actually be able to take this liquidity out of them. And we have to understand the whole thought process of the manipulator and the market maker on the marketplace as well. Recent liquidation event that we had with Bitcoin, this one, when I got liquidated out of my longs, additional time, right? When we went to $53,500, we liquidated $2 billion worth of money. So $2 billion were actually transferred into the pockets of the market participants who were long in the market to the pockets of the market maker that made this nice psyop manipulation, and on 4th of July decided to dump the whole thing. The interesting thought process that I think we should follow here is that overall, $2 billion is not a very large amount of money for them, because you have to understand there are a bunch of people who are shorting as well, so not all of this money are going to the pockets of the certain manipulator or certain market maker, right? And the largest amount of money they will be able to liquidate out of the market participants once there is much more liquidity in the market. And how they can assure that there is much more liquidity in the market? They can only assure that with the pump of the overall market. That's why it's just the greatest operation that they will be running themselves. That's why they're keeping this ball underwater currently at this stage, speaking of the whole crypto market, because I was showing the chart of Nasdaq in connection to Ethereum, for example, on my Twitter. I was sharing this chart, right? What we can see here is that Ethereum heavily underperforms Nasdaq, which is high risk tech stocks, right? Mostly just heavily underperforms it. And just by looking at this chart, you can see right away, what do you think will be happening with this chart? What's next for this chart? Or do you think that Ethereum will just start to outperform heavily? We have this crazy period of consolidation. We're consolidating for so much time, following like, if you don't know anything about charts, you can just see that this is something that will be happening moving further. This asset, underlying asset, will start to outperform Nasdaq heavily. This is the time, and they need to create this liquidity. They need to add a bunch of liquidity into the market to be able to take this liquidity out of the market through liquidation events, because even like billions of dollars that we got liquidated in terms of the altcoin drops back in the end of April and start of May, it's not a lot of money, because there is not a lot of money in this market at this stage. People were long in Pepe using $20,000 and 2x leverage back in January because they did not have money yet. Right now, certain people, they have money. And I think this is a certain psyop that is actually happening, because I don't think you should feel bad or you should think that you are a bad crypto investor if you did not make money this cycle yet. Because I can tell you a secret, a lot of people did not make any money this cycle yet. We are not yet at that stage. Currently, only the OGs, only like influencers, only people who are close to certain structures, they were able to make a lot of money. And that's why they're telling that they're taking profits, they're living, because it's essentially fine for them already. And they are living in this bubble where a bunch of people around them, they made a bunch of money as well. But overall, market-wise, crypto market-wise, there is still a very, very small amount of people that actually made money from the lows of the autumn, from the bear market. Especially if you were DCing into the altcoins during the bear market, you can still be sitting in negative profits at this stage. And this is something we all have to understand as well. They need to add liquidity, they need to make certain people rich, even if temporary, to show them, to let other people into the market. So they will add much more liquidity. So they would be able to liquidate this liquidity, right? They will have the reasons to push the charge to a certain level to take out this leverage, right? And create psyops as, for example, with Solana at the last cycle. Push it to all-time highs, drop the price by 50%, and start screaming everywhere. It's such a great discount. We're 50% off. Just buy into this asset, right? Maybe it's something similar that's happening currently. And speaking of the upcoming low, are we going to actually see the low lower than the current level, which would mean that I will get liquidated one more time at this stage? I don't think that this would be happening currently. The tip and the suggestion that I can provide, that I can essentially make, is that if you're going to $55,000 for BTC, there is higher chance that they would essentially push for a new low. Because this liquidity, if they're going for 55K, if they will be essentially using the money, selling the BTC, using the efforts to create the sentiment, right, to push that low, they would want to get this liquidity. And there are zero reasons for them to go to 55K. If not, they're planning to go to 53, because they took liquidity around 55K already in this week. You can see it right here. That's why we don't have a lot of liquidity and leverage loans here, because people were entering these longs right here, and through this week they took out this liquidity. And if you think that they still would need to take out this liquidity, there are different ways to actually do that. They can just pump up the chart up, then they can just start the correction that won't essentially lead us to be at these lows again. But some people, they will still close the longs because they would see that the profit is going down. That's the thing that I was doing multiple times myself. With my Pepe loan, with my Bread loan, I could just leave it in place and this cycle will be done for me. It would be over. It would be a winning cycle already. But because I closed them, I still have to do some things. I still have to participate in this market as well. So this is the current situation that I see on the market. Quite interesting situation as well. Quite interesting to see what market makers will decide to do. If you're watching this video, please do not, if you would enter a bunch of leverage longs, my longs will get liquidated because it will be too much liquidity at these levels, right? Don't do that. Especially if you're an influencer. Don't talk about entering leverage longs. I don't want to get liquidated first time in a row. It would be around $350,000 that I gave back to the market in the last like 45 or 50 days. It would be just crazy. Endian Blast, imminent takeover. If you think that this part would be just about Endian Blast, you're wrong. I will tell you about the fundamental analysis, fundamental approach to actually making money in meme coins. The only way I was able to make money in meme coins, and the only way that essentially works for 95% plus of crypto investors on the market, because trading memes, it does not work for 95% plus people on the market. It just takes money from them. Essentially, it's any type of trading, right? The only way to make money in meme coins through investing: buy before liquidity inflows plus wait. Let's check this out. The only way to make money in meme coins is through investing, buy before liquidity inflows, and wait. This is the most profitable way to make money with memes for 99+% of crypto investors, including myself. I'm a bad meme trader. I never made any money trading memes. Only leverage longing, leverage bets on ecosystems that were about to receive liquidity inflows, or longing the FUD, which is the same thing, short period of time before liquidity inflows. A very, very important thought. FUD is a short period of time if the project is legit and the team does not wreck themselves, right? FUD is the short period of time before new liquidity inflows. I would say that be more careful to FUD on Solana, right? Because Solana projects, they just tend to go quick. 2 days ago, I saw Solana influencer with 80,000 subscribers on Twitter, on X, posting $1 million meme coin on his Twitter page. And he was able to add $15,000 into liquidity. He did not even push it to 2x. A $1 million meme coin with $100,000 in liquidity. So this is the state of Solana. This is a state of Solana meme coins at this stage. Understand the assets you are buying. You are getting a stake in a business operation that represents a leverage bet on the ecosystem. Leverage bet on ecosystem receiving liquidity inflows. This is so important. You are getting a stake in a business operation because meme coins are businesses that represents a leverage bet on the ecosystem, safe leverage bet. If you're longing meme coins, that's like longing leverage. Longing safe leverage longs. They're just longing square. This is just crazy operation. Not a lot of people are doing that. That's why I actually do love doing that. I longed Pepe, I longed bread. Longing meme coins is the best thing that I like to do this cycle, and I think this is pretty much the only thing that you should be doing, right? Leverage bet on ecosystem receiving liquidity inflows. Some ecosystems, they have certain liquidity internally, but all these memes that are surging up on Solana as well, you have to understand that there are different operations, there are different teams, and these are businesses. There are teams coming to that project, investing some amount of money to pump it up. They are buying out the supply at the bottoms. They are pumping up the project to certain levels, and then they just drag it. And they just move to the new project, to new project, to new project. So it's a certain type of job. And it's always easier and better for them to actually move to new projects because they have to risk less. They can't just buy out the supply at the bottoms. They can just push the whole thing and then they move on to the next thing. This is something that's happening in Solana heavily. It's called a CTO, community takeover meta, because it's happening quite a lot. And you might understand that when this type of project was revived from the dead and when it already had the pump, it's kind of a bit tedious for this community takeover team to continue to push it, because they would be making way more money on their time if they would just pick a new project, right? Because certain things, they have certain time to pump, and after that it's quite hard. You're also buying a stake in business that represents most performant business value appreciation wise historically. And very, very important, this just means that you are buying a stake in the business that is connected and is based in the narrative of meme coins, which is the most performant narrative. This, not only this cycle, but previous cycle as well. Meme coins that are successful, they're just being ran by successful teams. They are operations, especially things that you are seeing on Solana. Like we just had the run of Billy, right? Certain people, they pushed Billy. Certain people right after pushed GigaChat. Maybe it's the same people, right? And then we've seen the pump of Retardio because they took the profits and they put the profits into the token that they are holding for quite some time already. And these profits, they pretty much just sucked out of the market through pushing a meme coin from lows. This is the thing that they're doing. These are teams of people. And we need to bet on these teams. We need to bet on businesses. That's why in different like low cap, like Solana meme coins, people always try to figure out who is the team behind this CTO, community takeover. What is their chance to actually push this project higher? Obviously dependent on the market conditions as well, because market conditions like right now, well, you probably see it yourself. 80,000 followers, Twitter account of Solana influencer posting a $1 million market cap meme coin with $100,000 in liquidity. He cannot even push it to X. This is the state of your Solana memes at this stage and Solana influencers. algorithm to make money with memes. And we're coming into the main thing. What actually works for the 95% of people to make money in meme coins? You will not make money in meme coin trading. You will just lose them 100%. That does not work for you. All these Soy Llama guys trying to track you into their ecosystems and showing their P&Ls, the only thing they're doing is to get new leads, new liquidity inflows to rob liquidity from, because they know this stuff. They're not risking much. They have systems, they have experience. If you're just entering with a certain amount of money, you will probably just lose them. You probably would actually have a higher chance of success just going into casino in this case. The strategy that actually works is to understand in the first place, what are meme coins? What are these assets? Meme coins are leverage bets on ecosystems. In the first place, you have to understand this. We have Read on Ton, we have Pep on Ethereum, we have Bob on Ethereum, we have End on Blast for Blast, we have CAC on AVAX. We have a different types of memes on different ecosystems. They are leverage bets on the ecosystems. They are leverage bets on additional liquidity inflows, because people that missed the ecosystem, that did not want to wait for a large amount of time for ecosystem to pick up or like unique liquidity to arrive, they would want to outperform through a meme token. This is something that was happening. This is something that will continue happening. And there are a bunch of people. Me personally, for example, I heavily outperformed people who bought Ethereum at the lows of $900. They could have entered with size. What I've done, I've entered in Boba, in bear market with like $25,000, right? I heavily outperformed these people because I pretty much cut into this meta initially. I did not know it would be happen 100% like this. I was thinking that initially my plan was to hold Boba until Ethereum ETF approval and see what will be happening after that. Things happened way sooner. I was prepared to hold my meme token till start of trading of Ethereum ETF at least, and my invalidation was Boba not moving with the approval of Ethereum ETF and Ethereum price surging up. This was my thought process back then. Fortunately, things started to push sooner. We will see what will be happening short term. You need to understand that memes, they're not even leverage bets on the ecosystems. That's probably the wrong thing, because like ecosystem does not matter. If you don't have liquidity inflows in the ecosystem, that does not matter. Memes are leverage bets on liquidity inflows. If you believe that certain sector will be receiving liquidity inflows and you have like a large meme token there, you might actually be entering this meme token in order to get this liquidity, because this is actually how our season starts in crypto. And if you are positioned in the meme token in the certain ecosystem that is receiving liquidity, there is two things in play. First, this is greed, where people who were sitting in the large asset of the ecosystem, they will keep rotating to smaller and smaller and smaller assets to essentially take advantage of these moves, right, and multiply their bags. And secondly, it's FOMO, from people who were staying away out of the ecosystem and they want to pick things up. They want to figure out a way on how to outperform. And meme tokens are pure vehicles to actually outperform like this during this cycle. For example, I was telling you back in April, before the second leg for Rito, I made 3 videos before the pump of Rito where I was saying, man, Rito just looks so great. Ton is going up. Rito is just staying there. Something should be happening quite soon. And I was saying publicly, shit, I think I should double down on my Rito bag. I did not do it, unfortunately. But 3 days after, we had a crazy pump on Rito as well, by Crash and Ren mentioning Rito on Crypto Banter. But you also have to understand that pumps, they're not just happening because of the fact that someone mentions them, right? The token need to be at a certain proper market stage. It needs to be undervalued. People need to understand that the chart is there, the upside is there, the upside of the trade is there, and that's why they will be entering. This is something Crash, for example, understands very, very well. He recently was calling Boba at $80 million market cap, where people were selling Boba and repositioning to other assets, and the sentiment was very, very bad, and he called it, and it went up like crazy right after, because the chart was prepared very, very nicely for it, because he's a good trader and he understands these things. He understands how to read charts as well. Algorithm to make money with memes. Analyze liquidity inflows. Analyze where liquidity inflows will be directed, ideally short term. For example, my case with the Pepe loan. I understood that Ethereum is pumping and probably Pepe should be pumping quite soon as well. Therefore, I positioned myself in Pepe. I entered with $20,000 margin and 3x leverage. Analyze teams, businesses, and projects. Narrative. It's very, very important to analyze and see that the team is genuine, they're showing effort, they're improving, they're working on marketing, they're doing things, they're listing on exchanges, and they're doing all the good stuff. And you can also see in a way, is there like a short-term focus of the team or long-term focus of the team? Are they trying to push all the exchanges like right away and do all the things right away, and then they're just doing nothing because they've lost all the catalysts, right? Or is this somewhere like a longer-term approach with actually understanding like probably the market will continue to run for quite some time. We need to have some catalysts in the future as well. We're building a proper foundation and we will be receiving our liquidity over time. Floor will be getting higher and higher and higher and higher. This is a way healthier structure for a project, for a meme token, than the constant pump and dump as well. And projects, the narrative should be strong as well. This is a bit harder from understanding narrative for the meme coin. However, if you would just like to be entering into the leverage bets on the ecosystems, you just might be buying largest memes. Although there might be some ecosystems that might not be very, very meme friendly, or we are just waiting for the liquidity inflows into the ecosystem. One example that I essentially was showing on my channel as well is that I was putting $40,000 in 3 largest Sui meme coins, Sui ecosystem memes, and they're quite dead at this stage. I think my $40,000 they turned into like 15K or something. I'm just holding them, right? I'm just holding, expecting liquidity inflows into the ecosystem, because Sui is being treated on the marketplace as the ecosystem that is not meme friendly. It's more like institutional wise and things like that. We will be seeing what will be happening with it. We're definitely correcting since the time that I was entering overall on the whole market, not just in the Sui ecosystem, and expecting a VC pump and dump from this ecosystem and from this token as well. I do understand that there should be liquidity inflows, additional liquidity inflows, and I probably would be able to ride these liquidity inflows using this safe leverage bet that I've done with essentially buying on spot Sui meme coins. Currently, for example, if some of them would be available for leverage, I would probably also loan some of them. Place your bets. Yeah, so you might just like certain ecosystems, or you're sure about liquidity inflows, or you have information because you maybe done research, like more research, you have some more insights about this and that ecosystem, and that might be your edge into essentially entering in the memes on that ecosystem. Ideally, you would want to enter like larger meme, but anyway, following our path to the alt season, we do understand that there are 2 things in play: FOMO and greed. And all these things, they would eventually lead to the fact that most of the assets into the ecosystem, they should be receiving the liquidity inflows, because once larger market cap asset will have limited upside and will be at the local tops, people who know how to read the charts and understand the upside, they will be just taking the profits and moving into lower caps assets. And this will continue as long as the conditions of the market will allow for this type of behavior. So we have to understand this, because there are different strategies to these type of situation as well. Some people, they're just, for example, buying BTC, then they're rotating into ETH, they're rotating into large caps, and then they're rotating into low caps, right? Some people, for example, the strategy that I'm using from time to time, I'm positioned in low caps right away, because I do understand that people do not move as a herd to the most of it, right? Some people, they would be sitting in Bitcoin and they will be selling into low caps right away. Some people, they would be sitting in Ethereum, they will be receiving liquidity from Bitcoin holders, and they will be selling into low caps right away, right? Some people in large caps, they would be selling into low caps. And the goal to receive all of the liquidity from the market is to be positioned in the low caps right away. Although this is the most risky situation as well, because in this case, there is a risk of your project and your asset not receiving liquidity at all. And at the same time, what you also have to go through is the time where maybe your asset is not receiving liquidity at all. The same thing I actually had to go through with Bobo, which is definitely painful. It was definitely painful. We had first kind of sparks of Solana meme season back in November, and Bobo was just dead, was just not moving, along with Pepe. Bobo moved like first time, I think end of January, start of February, somewhere around that time, and it was showing crazy corrections. It was showing 70% corrections from my entry point as well. And I had to sit through this. And I know a lot of people, they just sold and they just repositioned into the assets that were pumping up already with the larger market caps, which they probably made some money, but they removed this large crazy upside that people who were able to hold eventually received. This is why this actually is so important. There are reasons. We have two things on the chart. We have the price and we have the time. If you need price, you just need to wait. You just need to have time, because in this market, people, they're definitely not ready to wait. With all the TikTok, with all the younger guys, like their thought process, their attention span is just heavily fractionalized, and they just cannot wait. And even like partially me, I gave away so much money into the market also because of the fact that I was not ready to wait. If I was just fine, I would just put these funds on spot. I would have larger positions in the tokens that I wanted to put them into, and I would be very, very fine currently, and I would be doing way better than I would actually be doing once we finally reverse. And if we would be getting this like last liquidation, man, it would not look great for me as well. Anticipation of liquidity inflow might even be better than the actual event of liquidity inflows, BRED versus NDKs. So here we have an interesting thing, because with BRED we have the narrative of Coinbase. I don't think that BRED kind of needs this narrative of Coinbase at this stage. I think it essentially outgrew this narrative and it's quite large at this stage, but it's still kind of nice to have that this like layer 2, it's from the large US exchange, it will have a large inflow of users. We might actually get the airdrop as well, which would be large, which will give a bunch of house money. And we had similar type of narrative with Anton Blast. We had Blast airdrop. Unfortunately, Blast airdrop was under the expectations, right? It was not that large as the market was expecting, and that's why we definitely saw certain fluctuations in the price, right? So this is the scenario where anticipation of the event might even be better than the whole event, because with Andy we were pretty much pumping with pretty much longer wait time till the airdrop as well. It's also a very, very nice thing, and it's also a very, very nice narrative in comparison. However, overall ecosystem of Blast is quite nice, a bunch of transactions there. I would be sharing some details as well, native yield, and they are very, very nicely positioned. They're very, very quick to essentially take out the trends that are happening in the marketplace currently and just take them to themselves. One of them is they pretty much are creating the copy of Polymarket on Blast, the predictions markets, and I think it's live already. And it definitely makes more sense with the native yield, because people are putting the funds and they're pretty much locked, and there they can be receiving native yield for their funds as well, which is also a great thing. Memes cannot be valued properly and don't have the ceiling because of it. That's the beauty of them. General altcoins are limited by the fact that they can be valued and sealed. Plus, the valuation often depends on deliverables of development teams, real work from real people. They're not, and usually like crypto development teams, like there are some genius guys, but often they don't know how to communicate, they don't know how to set up development processes, they don't have certain specialists inside the teams to establish the proper development process, and this is the main reason why they are not capable of delivering on time, which fucks with their market caps and marketing preparations like by a lot. Like people can be investing hundreds of thousands of dollars setting up marketing campaigns and getting ready everything to the launch of the certain piece of the product, right? And the product might just not be ready because the team did not have proper resources and things. And these like crypto founders and crypto marketers, they did not want to get into the tech part anyway because they don't understand it. This is actually one thing that we're fixing a lot in our company, that when we're working with blockchain startups and blockchain products, we're helping them to set up enterprise level delivery process, so they can actually deliver on time, on budget, and have predictions. So they can combine tech part with the marketing part, because it's very, very important. There are so many projects on this market, they can just not deliver anything. And you know, like a bunch of them already, they can just not deliver anything because they're just not set up in a way to actually allow for this in the first place. They're not purely marketing products, these crypto altcoin products, right? But tech products as well. Memes also are a tech product, but tech that's being used is MarTech, focused on marketing. Marketing technology is pretty much something that is being used in memes, because there is still certain like marketing tech that you're using for outreach. You might be doing something with social media. You might need a market maker to push up your volume. So it's pretty much tech focused on marketing. But in terms of altcoins, this is tech focused on product as well. And that's what makes them so complex. And this is the beauty of meme coins, to be honest, because they're pure marketing materials, marketing essentially products, and they don't have a ceiling, because you cannot value a meme coin. You can value like a tech product, you can calculate the amount of active users, you can calculate the amount of revenue, you can calculate the amount of market share and things like that. So you can usually try to put certain amount of value and justify or unjustify the market cap that the tech product actually has. With meme coins, that's very, very hard to do. And this is essentially the beauty of them, because they are these leverage bets that can just go to infinite levels. And we will definitely be seeing this cycle. They will definitely be going into crazy infinite levels as well. How Andy on Blast will pump to $100 million plus in upcoming 2 months, and why? Catalyst, market pump, liquidity inflows we never seen before. We do have Ethereum ETF. I do think it should start trading in upcoming week or so. It's quite interesting that it seems like they on purpose are not giving out the date to have this uncertainty in the market, because market hates uncertainty. It's very, very interesting how this whole thing is set up, like what is happening around the Ethereum ETF, all this liquidation, all this Solana stuff and things like that. Yesterday, Virtual Bacon published a video on Solana, and we would see what will be happening over time. I have nothing against Virtual Bacon. I think the guy made it, and I think he might just have a bit of different priorities at this stage. Speaking of liquidity inflows into Ethereum ecosystem. And on Blast is Ethereum ecosystem token because it's based on Ethereum layer 2. We should also be getting liquidity inflows on Blast, but from my point of view, I see liquidity inflows from Blast as the additional bonus point for the token, right? It is important we're on Blast. It's important that we have current holders of Blast. It's important that we have Blast people and Blast whales inside Andy. It's also important for us to be friendly for the people from outside. As mentioned, I do think that Andy is a very, very nice bet to the exposure into the Blast ecosystem, but at the same time, it's essentially an Ethereum token. On the DEX, it's also paired to Ethereum. Therefore, with the growth of Ethereum, people who would be buying Andy, they would be buying into using Ethereum. Right now, Ethereum is $3,000. Ethereum will be at $5,000. Therefore, Andy will get pushed. Price of Andy will get pushed quite nicely with that as well. This is essentially the ultimate Ethereum beta, and it's actually a quite high quality Ethereum beta at the same time. Market enters explosive growth wave, same as Andy on Blast. What we've seen is just a small preparation helping to establish a new floor before the next move up. So I do believe that Andy on Blast currently is at the start of the wave 3, which is the most explosive wave in terms of the crypto assets out there. And we should be moving quite soon. It's just that the market conditions, they are not that helping at this stage. At the same time, we've done a 10x in the month of June. And if you would check out the chart of crypto market, the chart of BTC, the chart of Ethereum in the month of June, you would see that it was just going down. And Andy on Blast was doing a 10x in terms of the market cap, which is definitely a very, very nice and interesting sign. And with upcoming liquidity inflows, which is the main narrative for us, for the market. And with upcoming liquidity inflows into Ethereum, there will be liquidity inflows into the ecosystem tokens. And on Blast is also a leverage bet on Ethereum. Pretty nice one at this stage because it's not that large from the market cap point of view. It's definitely an ETH asset as well. We went through severe like 80-70% dips, I think 4 times at this stage, which definitely shows the healthiness of the asset. It shows the dedication from the team. There are more and more things happening. We are already on 2 centralized exchanges. We have a bunch of catalysts in the future on the token actually being published on more centralized exchanges as well. We do have catalysts in terms of the market making team working on the whole thing, in terms of the similar marketing campaign being run that were ran on Bread. They're being ran on Andy, on Blast currently, pretty much using similar type of teams who are helping the Bread team as well. So things are brewing, things are in the process, and it's a very, very nice setup because it's also quite nice asset to hold at this stage because the price, like the floor, is just iron. People are just declining to sell. And the main reason for that is because we obviously became larger as the asset, and we also improved our holder base. We have die-hard Blast fans and Blast ecosystem participants inside Anti, and I do believe that future for this project is very, very bright. I would even say that it's like one of the safest Memecoin bets at this stage and in the market currently, in terms of that your downside from here is very, very limited. Something to share about Blast strategy as well. Blast poly markets copy case. So we recently had the case where prediction markets were able to achieve a large number of users and a large number of revenue. This is like a pure product market fit. They were built on Matic, which is Ethereum layer 2 on Polygon, right? And Blast actually very, very quickly launched and developed a similar type of product on there as well. And this is the message from the founder of Blast. As the election cycle heats up, prediction markets with native yield will enable greater capital efficiency and better price discovery. Excited to support prediction markets building on Blast. And I've already seen certain screenshots of this product being live on Twitter as well. This is like a pure strategy of Pac-Man and the Blast as well. They're pretty much taking what works and they are moving it into the chain, showing people that it's better to actually exist with the native yield on chain, and it's also better for engineers because they are receiving 100% of the transaction fees back to themselves. Therefore, they can use them to grow the product, or they can just decide to incentivize the users even more than not just Blast incentivizing them themselves. Blast somehow has 30% of all on-chain derivatives volume the last 24 hours and has been the top chain every day since June 23rd. All of that is coming from SYN futures, which actually shows regular daily volumes, so maybe this isn't an outlier. Very, very interesting part of statistics that people decide to trade leverage on Blast. Andy as leverage bet on Ethereum ETF. As mentioned, we do expect liquidity inflows into the ecosystem, and we do expect $20 million asset market cap at this stage, just to receive crazy amount of liquidity inflows. And I can show you some charts in comparison to that, right? I can show the chart of ETH, and I essentially prepared Elliott wave structure at this stage. So let's remove the second part where it's a bearish scenario in terms of what will be happening by the end of the year, right? So following the current structure, most likely we are at the end of the first corrective wave for Ethereum. An interesting situation is that we are at the edge of the wave 5 at this stage. Conservative estimate there is 1.618, and this would put us at 7.8K for Ethereum. And if you would essentially listen to people in this market and probably following your own prediction, this is probably something that you have in your head as well. It's like slightly below 2x at the all-time highs of the previous cycle, right? This would be a bit bearish, but this is something that people are seeing as conservative at this stage, including their PTSD from the previous bull market as well, because people here, like definitely they're taking a lot of profits at this stage of the market, and they will continue to be taking a lot of profits just because of the fact that they got dumped on heavily in the last cycle. And I would say that this dumpage continues because we're still getting dumped on heavily due to presence of this sentiment, due to the fact that like this is not our first cycle, because once we would have more and more market participants that would be onboarded into crypto and this would be first cycle for them, they probably would not be dumping that heavily right away because they will just flow in this euphoria of things going up and things like that. This is, I would say, a conservative situation, because if we would just go there, like the total market cap of Ethereum at this stage is around 400 billion dollars, right? If we would do like a 3x, 2.7x from here, the market cap would be around $1 trillion for Ethereum, right? And we do expect, following the projections that we have in terms of the total crypto market cap at the highs of this cycle, to actually be in around 8 to 10 trillion dollars. Do you think that if we would actually be reaching this target, which is actually quite a conservative estimate, like it's definitely a diminished returns in comparison to the increase in terms of the market cap of crypto in comparison to previous cycles, right? Do you think that Ethereum will only stay at $1 trillion market cap if this would be happening? And we have a very, very interesting situation that in 2017 cycle, we actually were with Ethereum at 4.618, which essentially would put us currently at $16,000. And you might think that like these are crazy numbers, but just to think about it, and at $16,000, Ethereum total market cap would be at around 1.5 to $2 trillion. Do you think this is a lot for this type of asset? With this type of revenue, with the amount of transactions, with everything that's happening, with such a number of scaling solutions at this stage? BlackRock did not start the fund on Ethereum just for lulz as well. This would be just 4 to 5x increase in the total market cap of the asset. At the end of the cycle, if we would be reaching $10 trillion in terms of the valuation of the whole crypto, this would just be 20% of it for the top two assets. I don't think it's not that realistic. And this is a very, very interesting scenario because this pretty much combines in the scenario that I see. I do expect a bunch of people to be taking a bunch of profits around here because probably there we would be at around 120k for BTC, and they would be taking a bunch of profits because they're just scared from previous cycle and they would not believe in the amount of money that everyone is making and things like that. And it would be just a very, very nice scenario to let them take these profits and push the whole thing way higher right after that, and push it in a way where they would not believe that we're actually pushing like in a straight line, things like that. We will push just a bit and we will correct, and they will think, oh, like I'm glad I actually sold because we're probably just going down. Man, it's probably just a manipulation. We're not going up. All the technical analysts are saying that like it can be happening. We're definitely going lower. Yeah, I was right. We are going lower. Nice. Man, I should probably be entering. We are probably going way higher. I knew I should not have been entering here. I knew why I've done this. I trimmed my back like 20%, right? And here he enters finally, and he pretty much drops and probably just trimming his profits heavily. We will see if this would be happening. It's only based currently on the total predictions in terms of the total crypto market cap, but $2 trillion by the end of the cycle for Ethereum, if we do expect $10 trillion for the whole crypto market, I don't think it's that large, to be honest. Quality of the meme, that's something very, very important, because this is something I actually wanted to share as well. You can check out the quality, you can see the type of artwork that is happening. And I've spent quite a lot of time in the last several days in terms of Solana meme coins and things like that. And I just saw that the quality of these things, they are very, very low. And people who are coming from outside, retail people, it might be harder for them to actually be entering these lower quality things, right? It might be just not be at that level. This is just some type of comics quality from Marvel and things like that. And these are well-known characters that retail will probably know in terms of this cycle. We'll have Brad, we will have Pepe as well, and other things. And I would say that we should not be neglecting this part as well. Because for people entering from outside, they might not recognize and they might not know this degen meta. They would want to enter something normie friendly, right? And this to a certain extent is normie friendly, just through the way of the quality. Because everyone can understand quality. Everyone can see what will be happening with this product and with this team moving further as well. It's definitely a strong foundation here. It's definitely a focus on essentially making it through the whole cycle, not causing the short-term pump and dump. And it's quite interesting because I was speaking to the team a couple of times myself, and I am an aggressive guy. I want to do things here and there. I want to attract influencers. I want to push it and things like that. But it's quite interesting is that once you do it, you pretty much won't have a lot of options for it to move further. And if you would attract this amount of liquidity from like some type of influencers, they would not believe in the project well. So they would essentially treat it as a trade. Therefore, after the pump, they will be dumping. It would be kind of harder to deal with the results of these type of situations in comparison with just steady growth of the market cap, with just liquidity into the ecosystem, with just additional liquidity inflows into the ecosystem, additional liquidity inflows into Ethereum. Because I do believe that most Ethereum assets, they should appreciate greatly in the short term, with Ethereum ETF starting to go up, especially the ones that just understand this thing, especially the ones that have lower market cap, but like quality wise, they are very, very nice. They're definitely undervalued quality wise, the things that are happening, and so many things are happening in the background with market makers, with different marketing teams. Man, just a very, very interesting setup that we have currently. Blast ecosystem as a bonus. As mentioned, this is also quite friendly for the outsiders, because some people, they might want to get exposure to the Blast ecosystem and make sure that nothing that will be happening on Blast will actually be missed. Because once you're buying into Andy, you do understand right away that you have exposure to Blast. This is a leverage safe bet on Blast, and most likely you would be receiving at least a portion of all the liquidity inflows. If there would be like a crazy successful product on Blast and things like that, you will be receiving certain liquidity inflows into your meme token right from it. And at the same time, you would also be receiving liquidity inflows out of Ethereum surging up and Ethereum ecosystem becoming larger as well. And there is a very, very high chance that with the increase in terms of the Ethereum ecosystem, more and more liquidity will specifically be coming to Blast because of the native yield and because of all the products that are available there now and will be available in the future. Because network effect, like developers wise, engineers wise, there are pretty much zero reasons for developers to be developing anything on any other chain, because on Blast, they're like the owners of the chain because they're receiving 100% of transactions back. They are the owners of the chain. That's the same thing with sellers on Amazon. There's the same thing with developers in Apple Store. There's the same thing with people running ads on Facebook ads. There are reasons that these are trillion-dollar platforms, because they allowed people to kind of own a share of the platform, be the owner on the platform, and actually make money through the platform. This is something that Blast allowed itself. Pepper narrative as a bonus. None of the tokens can compete quality-wise. This is a very, very good narrative as well, because as mentioned at the start of the video, you have to check out the teams, you have to check out the narrative as well. We can definitely see examples on the market where teams were pushing certain things too hard, like too early in a short period of time, and they might not be doing very, very well currently, because the approach is different. The approach is short-term. There are no like obvious catalysts moving further. And the same thing that you were trying to sell before, like it's not working currently as well, because people heard it already. They have nothing to look up to. And here, like everything just started. It's really just the start of wave 3, like fundamental wise, all the things that I just know myself, and I'm transferring myself to you as well in terms of the things that are happening, ecosystem wise, product wise, marketing wise, partnerships wise. It's a very, very interesting and safe setup at this stage. And one more time, none of the tokens can compete quality wise. And for normies, it's definitely, for retail, it's definitely a very, very appealing point at this stage as well. The most simple thing usually works the best. Ethereum Echo goes up, Andy goes up as well. All the other things we have on top as a bonus. We have a team with great approach. We have great market make. We have great marketing partnerships. We have great marketing campaigns going on. We have a crazy chain. We have a crazy good narrative. We have a chain that pretty much overtakes everything on the market due to the way it's structured, due to the way it's developed, it's architected in the first place. We have the asset that goes 10x in the months when the whole market is declining. We have the asset that just holds the floor through the largest corrections since the market have since the time of FTX. We have the asset of a very, very good quality, appealing to people outside of the market as well. I know it was hard for people to enter Bobo because you had to be quite a degenerate to enter Bobo. You have to understand this meme game and things like that. And I do think Bobo is also a very, very great and safe choice at this stage. Should be doing crazy numbers, moving into us, essentially into Ethereum ETF, liquid inflows and things like that. Same you have essentially with ND. Although with ND you also have this additional exposure into some other things as well. Essentially up to you. My goal of this video was to explain the way to really actually make money with meme coins, and in order to do that you have to understand what type of assets are they, right? What are the leverage bets to? That they're being run as businesses, that you have the narratives that you have that are important to understand, and that most time you actually would be able to make money through time, through waiting, through positioning yourself when other people they're impatient, they are going from one thing to another. But unfortunately, for 99% of people in the market, rotating the bags from one thing to another to the third one, it's just streaming them heavily, just decreasing the amount of tokens that they have with certain projects, because they do end up to rotate back into the initial project. Because essentially the reason you rotate is because you did not do a certain portion of research on the project that you are holding. You did not become the member of community. You do not understand like what is happening. You do not understand the ecosystem. You do not understand all the upcoming catalysts that will be happening. That's why I'm explaining them. And if you conviction is the most important thing on this market. If you lack conviction, just invest some time, just spend some time, talk to people, discuss, join telegrams, check out what's happening, check out Twitters, ask some questions, and it will essentially increase your conviction as well. I do believe future is very bright both for ND and for the market as well. Thank you very much for watching this video. I'll be seeing you tomorrow. Bye.